Hello everyone and welcome back guys to the final F1 2022 car reveal. Yes, today we're here back with number 10 once again with Jamie183. How are we doing, mate?
I'm good, yeah. Don't usually record on a Sunday, but here we are.
No, exactly. We're busy, you know, trying to give you guys as much Formula 1 content as we can. Of course, Jamie's now revealed we're doing this on Sunday when it won't come out till Monday.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes access. Perhaps we'll do that down the line. We'll charge a subscription service to get to listen to the ramblings of
All or
knowing
nothing
Rio.
documentary.
Oh, but yeah, today though, Alfa Romeo, final F1 car reveal, which is a bit odd considering we've kind of already seen it on more than one occasion already, haven't we? We saw it go around Fiorano a couple of weeks ago, and then of course we saw little snippets at winter testing as well, but not the livery, anything like that. Jamie, I'm sure, is very, very hyped to talk about Alfa Romeo today for one man and one man only. You guys might not know this, he is a huge Valtteri Bottas fan.
Oh, come on. Don't put some respect on my name.
What were your initial thoughts then when you saw this car though, Jamie, first of all?
I massively like it. I think, like, the angles of the lines and stuff, it immediately looks like the 2012 Sauber, but in red.
Yes.
And that car was very nice.
Yeah,
so...
can't talk about some of the logos that were on that car though, can we, at the moment?
No, not at the minute, no.
Looks at Chelsea FC stickers.
Yeah, not the one at the minute, but I really like it. I think it looks very nice. I think it's a big upgrade on last year. And generally, like, since seeing all the liveries on track, I quite like all of them, to be honest. There's not really any that I don't like anymore. With
the exception of McLaren's, which looks horrendous.
I still don't mind it. It's not as high as I put it initially, but it doesn't offend me still.
And I think that's helped by the new car designs as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah. They do look really cool. And obviously, we all love new stuff. So they're all going to look quite good for a couple of years. But yes. No, I like it a lot. They've done a great job.
Yeah, I must admit, sort of looking at the livery, we kind of spoke about this before we started recording. Alfa Romeo was one of those weird teams where the cars generally look quite good, except for from the offset T-cam position that they always film the drivers with. They always look horrendous from there. But we're sort of hoping, you know, new red halo, everything like that, this year might be a little bit different. Speaking of the design, though, of the car, Jamie, again, another interesting take on the new regulations when sort of you look at the front wing and also the side pods as well.
I don't know if it's just the scaling of the picture, but the front wing seems to have a lot more elements to it than some of the other reveals we've seen. But then I guess this probably is the actual car, not a render.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, the side pods, obviously we've seen since the last podcast we did, I think, we've seen the Red Bull having insane side pods. And like, to be fair, all the teams have quite similar designs in terms of the Red Bull's super aggressive, obviously, with how narrow they are from the side, but all of them seem to have a really big undercut from like under the side pod to the floor, basically. And obviously they're trying to maximize the size of floor that you have available, because that's where the ground effect is all coming from.
Yes, yeah.
So it makes it makes sense from that point of view.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of looking at the front wing though, again, seems like it's trying to push air very aggressively actually towards the centre of the car, isn't it? Down the sides of the front wing and into the side pods there. Big side pods on the Alfa Romeo. I'd argue, obviously, depending on, because you never get the full picture because obviously the bits in front of them are black, so you don't quite know exactly where they extend out to. But the other big thing I noticed, actually, Jamie, was the engine air intake on the top as well.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like a bit of an interesting sort of split design there that we haven't really seen much in Formula 1.
I remember the Spain spec of the 2010 Mercedes, as a fact for you all.
That's a very odd thing to remember, but...
Yeah, it looked very similar to that, with like basically two different intakes rather than just one massive hole.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe it's something to do with the engine. Maybe that's just how they want to call it. They've also got massive gills on the top of the side pod, quite similar to the Aston Martin, and also the Mercedes was testing with those during one of the afternoon tests.
Yes, yeah, I think that was Thursday, wasn't it? We saw Mercedes testing out some different things. So yeah, I mean, again, it's always a bit funny when we talk about these things at the moment because, of course, so much will change by the time we even get to Bahrain. I mean, Red Bull have already confirmed they're going to have another massive overhaul of the car. Mercedes have said the same. Interestingly, doesn't appear that Ferrari and McLaren are going to do so much, though.
Yeah, they've sort of shown their hand early. Obviously, they won't be going full speed, but
no.
this probably will be their Bahrain spec of car.
Or at least very similar.
Yeah, quite similar, maybe a couple of minor upgrades, but the Mercedes and Red Bull will definitely take a step forward, because I think based on this week of testing, it appears that McLaren and Ferrari are right with them at least, if not better.
Yes, yeah.
But it's likely to change again.
Exactly. We never really know, really, to be honest, until we get into the Bahrain qualifying session as much as anything else. The other main thing I sort of wanted to talk about, looking at the Alfa Romeo car, actually, Jamie, was if you look from a side-on profile, it's almost got, if you look at the front wing, it's almost got like a droop snoot on it. It's an aeroplane term from years ago. Just the fact, obviously...
I have no clue what that means.
It basically just means, obviously, right at the very front, it drops down really aggressively. I don't know if you've got a picture of the side profile of the car.
Yeah, I think I see that. I have nothing to add. So I don't know what that means.
Well, it's just obviously very interesting, the fact that a lot of teams, it seems like the front wing's very much been sort of properly pushed into that centre part of the car, but it seems like the Alfa Romeo, it sort of drops right at the very front of it, rather than quite gradually in, was I think sort of the point I was trying to make about it. But I mean, you're really trying to hold back at the moment. You want to talk about the drivers, don't you, Jamie? There's a lot of hype and anticipation coming from Mr. 183.
I think it's a very exciting lineup, to be fair.
And I could not disagree with you anymore.
But are you not looking forward to what Bottas does when he's out of the shadow of Hamilton and Mercedes generally? Because back in the Williams days, he was a very good driver.
And the thing was, he was sometimes at Mercedes. It was just when he didn't have a great day, it was glaringly obvious, which wasn't so much at Williams.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what he can do in the midfield again. And also, I just love Guan Yu Zhou. So I just want to see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, obviously, Guan Yu Zhou, at the moment, still the only rookie that's meant to be racing in F1 2022. Of course, we'll discuss that more in our normal weekly roundup, which will be going live tomorrow. But... yeah, certainly intrigued to see how he'll get on. Of course, you can always look at stats and facts and everything like that, and looking at their junior career. And often, with a Charles Leclerc, with a George Russell, they're going to come into Formula One and do very well. With an Oscar Piastri, if Alpine actually pull their finger out and did something useful with their junior academy. But then, of course, you sort of look at Guan Yu Zhou's stats. He hasn't had that dominant junior career that a lot of drivers have had. But always the example I draw back to is Kamui Kobayashi. He was awful in F2, and then was an absolute wizard behind a Formula 1 car.
Yeah, completely. And even, obviously some drivers have very good junior careers, but someone like Sergio Perez was okay.
He did pretty well in junior. Didn't lose to any teammates, I don't think.
He came second in F2, I think, or GP2 back then.
Yes.
But, not stellar, not like a Russell or a Hamilton, for instance, back in the day. And then he's come into F1, fully established himself, and done very, very well. So I'm not expecting Zhou to be the next big thing, but if he can be someone like Ocon, I don't know, someone decent level, and stay in F1 for the long term, I think that'll be great for him. And I'm just looking forward to seeing him on the grid, to be honest. Yeah,
I think a lot of it depends, really, doesn't it, on how good the Alfa Romeo car is. Because I think the unfortunate position Guan Yu Zhou's in is he's very much coming into Formula 1, and unless he is incredibly good, he's very much just a placeholder, isn't he? I think for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just waiting for tail or chair.
Well, certainly in that team, I think the F1 higher-ups will definitely want to keep him in F1 because of the Chinese market, which is not the best thing, I don't think, to basically be saying, despite your performances, we're going to keep you because of your nationality. But
that's how F1 works. It's all money, isn't it, unfortunately?
Yeah. So well, as long as Porsche gets the super license points in F2 this year, he probably will be in the Sauber.
You've got to be pushing him up, surely.
Yeah. But I think Zhou will find himself somewhere else quite easily.
Where do you think he would go then, out of interest?
I could see him at Haas quite.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Plenty of backing as well. Even someone like Williams, because they need money all the time.
Not anymore.
Well, they've still kept on Latifi, haven't they?
Yeah. But
and I think F1 will definitely be pushing for any of the teams to take him, basically.
I love the fact, when I've asked you there where you think he'll go, you believe he can either replace basically Nikita Mazepin or Nicholas Latifi. So you've clearly got very, very high hopes for him, Jamie.
Yeah, good for sure. I mean, if he don't say it. He secured his F2 seat, by the way.
He has, yeah. No, we discussed that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he can be like, I'm thinking like Sebastian Buemi back in the day. He was inoffensive, but never was gonna become a world champion or get race wins. Or Jaime Alguersuari, similar. Like, someone like that. I think if Zhou can establish himself on the grid, even like Marcus Ericsson, he was good. I don't know. I hate to be negative because I really like him as a person, but I know I'm not delusional. I know he's not going to come and like win championships for fun. But if he ever gets a podium, that's like my phone screen sorted for eternity. So
there is a lot of different emotions going on there, Jamie. Fair play. Fair play. Let's talk about then, we briefly mentioned him, Valtteri Bottas, of course, going to Alfa Romeo this year. Obviously stepping down from a big team like Mercedes. This will very much go one extreme or the other, won't it? We'll either see a completely revitalised Bottas who's prepared to take risks again in the sport, or he's just going to basically do what he spent a lot of races doing at Mercedes, and that's falling backwards and then not being able to fight his way back through.
Yeah, his racecraft at times was horrendous.
Something you wouldn't want to see in go-karting, never mind anywhere higher than that.
I think there was a clip of
Baku.
one of the restarts at Baku this year.
Baku was awful. Every position you'd think not to put a Formula 1 car in, he did.
He lost like 5 places in about 3 corners.
And he built up a culture around himself, didn't he? Of everyone was there like, oh, send it, it's Bottas, he'll jump out of the way.
Yeah. When Ricciardo and Verstappen were doing like driver awards in 2018, it was like they literally said, "Oh, it's on Bottas, it doesn't count for the best overtake."
Yeah, I mean, even
it's like
even Tsunoda at the end of last season did it on him. That huge send in Abu Dhabi was insane, and you think he wouldn't do that to basically anyone unless it was Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, he's got to like show some steel quite early on.
Yes, he needs
even
to get
if
his
it's like
out.
Even I don't want him to like break the rules or anything like that, but like just show that you're actually going to put up a fight when someone, especially in that midfield, which is usually so tight.
Yeah, and this is
you've got to defend your places like hugely.
Exactly, and he could be very, very important to Alfa Romeo. You know, if other teams do have, if obviously depending on what Guan Yu Zhou can do, obviously if a few teams, you know, say there's a bit of a pile up in a Grand Prix and Alfa Romeo are trying to scrap for points, because obviously we don't know yet whether they are going to be consistent point scorers this year. You know, he will be important to sort of have that experience, have that level-headed nature, and know when to go for moves and when to hold back as well. I think is going to be super important. And of course, you know, he has gone to Alfa Romeo this year to try and teach Guan Yu Zhou the ropes.
Yeah, and it's a tried and tested formula with having an experienced driver and a rookie, like, works very well, or it has done in the past. So it makes a lot of sense for Alfa. And I think if you look at Haas last year, it was like the blind leading the blind quite often.
Yeah. When
you've got 2 rookies trying to set up a car. And obviously Kubica's there as well, who knows a lot of stuff about the cars. Maybe not the modern cars, but he'll certainly be there for
the money.
Support. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure that they'll do decently. I think the car will be a step up on last year, hopefully. Obviously can't read into testing too much, but they had a few reliability problems, but nothing major.
No.
Nothing like a car on fire like Alonso had, unfortunately.
El Plan?
Yeah, it's in full force.
I was going to say, where do you predict him to finish this year?
I think 4th.
4th place.
So that looks unlikely.
You never know. You never know. Talking more about Alfa Romeo as a team, though, Jamie, always been quite a weird one, isn't it? I think for people sort of watching Formula 1, you know, you look at Mercedes right at the front, you look at Ferrari right there, you look at a team like Aston Martin that's made good progress in recent years, McLaren, even the likes of, I feel, Renault, of course, now obviously Alpine. Alfa Romeo, I think a lot of people get confused with, think they are like a factory team, aren't they? And they just desperately need to pump more money into it.
Well, the thing is, Alfa Romeo is just a title sponsor, effectively.
Yeah.
Because it's still the Sauber team. It's still run by the team in Switzerland in Hinwil, I want to say. Maybe that's right.
I was going to say, I would never have been able to guess anything. It's Hinwil, yeah, fair play. You're just looking on their Twitter,
my knowledge is amazing. No, I'm not. I wasn't. That was fully from my brain. But yeah, they're an independent team. They're one of the smallest teams on the grid, probably other than Haas and maybe Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri back, not Toro Rosso. But yeah, they're a very small team. They are very good at actually punching above their weight. In the past, they have been.
Yes, yeah.
Certainly back when Kimi went there the first season in 2019, they gave them a very good car. Just Giovinazzi was dreadful for most of the year. So if they can come to that sort of level again, where they're capable of getting regular points, or like certainly maybe take a 3-race period, they're going to get points in one of them. That'd be quite good for them, certainly from last year and the year before.
Yeah, because I mean, this was the thing, wasn't it? Last year, they definitely had a car that should have at least matched Williams. But later on in the year, the amount of times we saw Alfa Romeo throw away, sort of 2 points here, 4 points there. I think Mexico was the best example, wasn't it? They could have finished like 7th and 8th that race. And I think Kimi came 9th in the end, and Gio was out of the points. Yeah. And they're like, those points would have made the difference. That would have kept him. They
were quite
Williams.
Unlucky as well, because Williams got a huge amount of luck mid-season with the amount of points they had. But yeah, these things happen. They finished 9th in championship last year in the constructors.
Yeah, a very safe 9th.
Yeah. So I think like their future's not in doubt. They've got a very committed team. They've been in F1 30 years now, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
As obviously under different names, Sauber and BMW and whatever. But yeah, they're going to be on the grid to stay for a while. But they're never going to like be right at the sharp end, because just the budget and the size of the team is just not there.
The only way you could see them getting up towards the front of the sport is if they did have a buyout like BMW or something like that. That did get them their only race victory still to this day. But come on then, Jamie. Livery rating out of 10.
Livery rating, I really like it. I think the only thing that annoys me is that the all-end sponsor is not the same shade of red as the car.
Yep, I hadn't noticed that now, and that's really bugging me.
If it was the same shade, I would give it a 10. I would
really?
give it a 9. I love it. It's great. I think it's brilliant.
Fair play. I'll give it a 9. I was gonna give it an 8.5, but because of that all-in, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
I still quite like it, but we'll wait and see.
And if anyone's been keeping track of our scores, then they're probably horrendously inconsistent.
I was going to say, I'm going to do a roundup. I'm going to do a roundup in a couple of days. We'll get them all posted.
We'll rank them properly in this tiering order in a podcast coming soon, I'm sure.
We will, definitely. Bold predictions then, Jamie, as well as poles and wins.
I'll go no poles, no wins. I'm not crazy. But you might disagree with that statement, because I'm going to say 1 podium each. Just for my...
Each?
Yeah.
Wow. That one is getting race. Clipped.
Get us like Suzuka. There's going to be heavy rain. Guan Yu Zhou OP.
You can't honestly believe we're going to see 2 Alfa Romeo podiums this year.
Yeah, why not? Bring it back to 2012. We love it.
Right, okay. Well, I'm going to say 4 wins, no. No wins, no poles. I think that the best result they're going to get this year, I think Bottas is going to get a 4th place somewhere. And
very precise.
Yep. That's what I'm going with. And I reckon bold prediction for the year, or maybe not so bold, is Guan Yu Zhou won't be there in 2023.
Right. That's the safest bold prediction I've ever heard in my life.
Is it?
Yeah.
He could outscore Bottas. Bottas could be gone.
To be fair, can I actually give another one? I don't think Bottas will lose to Zhou, but I will say Zhou will score 75% of Bottas's points.
Fair enough. Yeah, actually, let's do that quickly then. 23 qualifying sessions. Obviously, you can't really predict races as well. 23 qualifying sessions over the year, Jamie. Ooh. What do you think the ratio is going to be?
Bottas is classic quality.
He is a very good qualifier.
Ratio, I would say, if Zhou can out-qualify him like 6 times, I think that would be quite good.
Okay, so you're going 17 to 6.
17-6 at least.
I was going to go 18-5.
I'm surprised you won't go 23-0. I genuinely wouldn't surprise me.
Oh no, Bottas will do something stupid at some point. Whenever we get a wet weekend, he's either there or nowhere. So we'll wait and see about that. Anything else to add though, Jamie, before we round this one out and you continue your love affair for Guan Yu Zhou?
I may use your code to buy some Alfa Romeo merch.
You're going to use my code to buy Alfa Romeo merch. Thank you very much. That's greatly, greatly appreciated. Of course, if you also want to buy Formula 1 merch, there will be links down below to the F1 store. Most teams now have got their lines out available for 2022. So, to be honest, even I'm considering a couple of the Alfa Romeo bits did look really, really cool. from winter testing as well. And you can even buy a hat like I've got now on my head. Everything else, though, links will be down below as well, of course. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching over throughout all of these livery reveals. It has been quite an intense few weeks, hasn't it, Jamie? Yeah. Mad to think we started this, what, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, pretty much, obviously, because that was when the hats got revealed. To you. It is a lot of time talking to me. It's probably why you're going to go insane by the end of the year there. But thank you all so much for watching. Like we said, we will be back tomorrow with our normal weekly roundup. Obviously, a lot to digest and go through, and a lot of speculation from both, obviously, winter testing and everything, obviously, going on around the sport at the moment. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow then, ready for more Formula 1 news.